You might have heard of the practice of quiet quitting, in which Gen Z has started either quitting a job with no notice and no explanation, or putting in the minimum level effort until they get fired. But this new practice that Gen Z is putting into place is called revenge quitting. It's the loud version, and it's exactly what it sounds like. They are quitting their jobs in order to seek revenge, spite their bosses, get back at them, screw all of them over. Screw over not only their bosses, but also their coworkers in the process. Choosing the most inconvenient possible time to quit their job with no notice.
It's like, we've got a big company project due on Friday. On Thursday night, bye, bitches.
Yes. So these employees quit intentionally to push back against toxic workplaces, debatable, limited career opportunities, career stagnation, unsupportive bosses, and unreasonable expectations. So this is an explanation given by the Society of Human Resource Management.
That sounds like hell, literal hell on earth.
Yeah, that sounds like the Ninth Circle. But they came up with this definition in a very biased manner, because what they're asserting in that definition is that Gen Z is put upon. They are dealing with toxic bosses, and they are not being promoted when they deserve it, and they're not being supported properly, and they're getting placed under impossible conditions. So none of this has anything to do with Gen Z and the mindset with which they approach their job. It's not even entertained as a possibility that Gen Z might be part of the problem. Like, not even the whole problem, but just like part of the problem here. It's all placed on the older generations that are in charge of these workplaces.
It's literally like the Daredevil episode.
Expecting too much of them.
The whole episode of Daredevil, this guy's like, it's not my fault I stole shit. Bad stuff happened to me.
Workers are reportedly over unfair treatment and poor wages. They're embracing silent quitting or quiet quitting, which entails doing the least amount of work possible without getting fired.
That's just being a government employee.
Yeah, exactly. Now they're taking things to the next level by just completely calling it quits as a form of revenge. And it's a form of protest, they say,
of course,
to real or perceived mistreatment. I'm just saying, Gen Z, knowing all of their social traits, would be the most likely to perceive mistreatment that isn't there.
Yes.
So they're the most likely to overreact to mistreatment that doesn't exist, or they're overblowing
They're
it
like,
out
what
of
do you
proportion.
mean this project has a deadline?
Yeah.
I have to be at work at 8.
I mean,
What?
I'm more so.
I mean, no, that's one of the big things that I've noticed is how they, first of all, maybe it's not Gen Z. I can't speak specifically to a specific generation, but it skews younger, where they're like, 8 hours a day, human beings were not meant to live like this. And then somebody inevitably comes in, like, when you add in the commute, it's like 9 to 10 hours a day. And then, of course, some rational person has to come in and be like, before the Industrial Revolution, before cities, you just went out and killed your food every day, and you worked every day from morning until night because you just wanted to survive. And they're like, we were meant for so much more. And this is the person who believes that if you have a communist uprising, they're going to be the dude who makes art for the local co-op. And everyone knows that that's not how the world works.
I'm just like looking at all of these headlines, and it's always the same thing. It's so predictable. Gen Z aren't ready for the workforce. 8 ways Gen Z will change the workforce. Gen Z, the workers who want it all.
We've been in it for like 5 years.
And basically, I think that it's overblown, in my opinion, how bad Gen Z really is in the workplace. But it would be ridiculous not to recognize that they have certain emotional stuntedness when it comes to interacting with people older than them. Because they weren't forced to. They were put in all of these fake social environments with people only their own age.
Like what?
School.
So you're just talking about school. Okay.
Yeah. And then never forced to interact with other generations. And they have this weird fear and intimidation when interacting with them, but also they hate the older generations at the same time. Mm-hmm. They hate them even though they're afraid of them. And that's something I've noticed for a long time now.
I think that for the most part, they kind of use boomers the same way the term billionaire has been ruined, meaning that it's a pejorative now. It's used to broad brush an entire generation or a class of people to focus on just the negatives or how we perceive the negatives to be. It's one of the reasons I kind of, as much as I understand all the gripes about the world the boomers have left us, I tend to be one of those people where I'm like, okay, then what's the solution? Like, you're only ever focused on the problem. What's the solution to the problems that they've left us?
Roll it all back.
Yeah.
I just sent you the link to a TikTok.
Okay.
And I would like to show this one explanation for why Gen Z might be perceived as difficult to work with.
It sent me a link to a page, not a specific video.
The article?
Like it sent me a link to a TikTok, like to a guy's account.
Oh, I see. Okay. Let me
see if you can send me a direct
send
link.
you the article.
But I mean, this is one of those things, and I understand that like it's not like we'll ever find the solutions to these types of things, but it just tends to be one of those things. Like, I understand we were put into a world where yes, a lot of people are never going to own a home. Yes, wages have not gone up incongruent with like inflation and all that stuff. But the question is, at a certain point, the blame game only goes so far.
Well, I mean, if we really are being fair and making all those points, yes, it actually was their fault because they thought of it in the way of, oh, well, I don't have to deal with this.
No, 110%. I'm just saying that, like, at a certain point, I just say, well, then what's the solution? Otherwise, we're just going to keep nursing the same grievance.
Yeah, just keep bitching about it. It's not
Some
going to
of the
help.
people we disagree with may have a point.
Here we go.
Oh.
This one, Mary?
Lawyers are reporting that this generation is the most difficult to work with.
Look, it's really simple. It comes down to work-life balance and not tolerating bullshit. For example, why do I need to sit in an office for 8 to 9 hours a day, and let's say for this day, I only have 2 meetings, or I have no work. Let me work from home. I'm being compensated like shit, but my job is so taxing. No fulfillment, but so many problems, not prepared, issues on issues. That's why you see people job hopping. That's why you see people seeking salary increases and going where their value. If you have no fulfillment at work, you're not being compensated correctly, and your work-life balance is shit, people are not going to work hard. It's really not that hard.
Okay. Thoughts?
So he's
Lawyers
talking
are
about the
reporting-
concept of work-life balance, which seems to be, according to Gen Z in surveys, the most important factor in their job seeking.
Yeah.
But I don't really understand what life they're trying to enjoy outside of work.
If they're
Because
not
they
actually
don't
doing
have
anything
lives.
else.
They
Yeah.
don't have lives. They don't go out with people. They don't really socialize all that much. So the life that they're trying to balance with their work is
Social
sitting
media?
in their bed, rotting all day, and
Scrolling.
doing drugs.
Um,
Like, I don't understand why work-life balance is the most important factor to the generation with the least, like, actual passion for living
yeah.
that has ever existed. Like, they are nihilistic and existentially suicidal people.
I will criticize the office culture a little bit here, which is that they've lied to you for decades. We're a family. Everyone at this company is a family.
Well, in some companies, there was actually a seed of truth in that.
Okay, but the point being is, like, they tell you that story. It's inherently not true most of the time. So if they were honest about what they were saying, so the real answer is that this guy's talking about my job brings me like what about fulfillment? I'm like that means nothing. The job, it's not this job. This job's like business to fulfill you.
I mean, that one's more debatable.
But pragmatically, it would be beneficial if they found a way to do so. So I know somebody whose whole job is he runs a consulting firm, and his whole job is to teach companies how to outreach to Gen Z employees to like help with better retention of Gen Z employees because they are more prone to quit. Now, do I think it's stupid that needs to be done? Yes, but pragmatically, if I'm one of these businesses and I find high turnover to be a problem for my company, it's costing us money, then it is in your best interest to try to find some type of middle ground. But a lot of the times, the concepts that they're talking about here, work-life balance, fulfillment at my job, they're just alien to people of a certain generation. So the generation before that, your grandparents or your great-grandparents may have highly identified with where they worked with. You know, it was part of their identity to work there. They worked there for 30, 40 years and then they retired. Well, everyone knows that that is not the truth anymore. Most people switch their careers several times in their lifetime now. But for the average Gen Z person, there has to be a balance between the company doing their best to try to understand what their problems are and understanding that you're not going to get your every need met because this company has a goal. It's to create a product that helps them make money. And one of the things they do need to consider is the happiness of their employees, even if it's just not something that was considered in generations past.
We have a 20 from Pop Culture Junkie. There was a legendary story of a guy from my hometown in the Midwest who won the lottery. He came into work the next day with a band and sang, "Take this job and shove it," and marched out in triumph. That sounds like revenge quitting before revenge quitting
I
had a
hope Bro
name.
got the actual check before he did that.
I think that Gen Z is asking for things and they don't know what they're asking for. So when they're saying they prioritize work-life balance, what they mean is like, I kind of hate my life outside of work, so I wish that I enjoyed my job more, when they should just fix their life outside of work.
Yeah.
And when they're asking for fulfillment out of their job, they're just saying, they're admitting the quiet part out loud, which is that they don't feel fulfilled in general from things that you would normally use to find that community and religion and family. And those are things they're not prioritizing. So they're expecting the workplace to fill in the gaps.
Do you think a lot of these people are kind of nursing a grievance that they're not working in a field that they feel like they actually want to work in? Like a lot of it's like it's the literal meme of the guy who's like, I'm going to be the one making art in the communist revolution, like I said earlier, right?
If you want to
So-
make art, like, we should just go back to the way that it used to be in the Middle Ages. You find a super rich guy to fund your art. If he really cares about it that much, you'll be the next Michelangelo. Otherwise, forget it.
Beethoven's Fifth was written because he didn't have money to pay his landlady rent.
Really?
And it's one of the best symphonies ever written.
So I just
There is merit in being a struggling artist.
Oh, yeah, no, I agree.
there is like it's one of those things where it's so easy to dunk on them because their concerns are just so easy to write off as like, just toughen up and deal with it. Everybody's got to go to work. Everyone's got to do their job. But if I'm the employers, I'm looking for a fix for this. I'm speaking purely from a capitalistic sense. If I'm looking
the
for
older people are gonna die.
I'm like-
you're gonna need to keep the young people at some point.
we're looking for minimal turnover because every time an employee quits, you have to
Yeah.
waste resources training the next person in. I'm looking for ways to keep people on board and keep people happy. And maybe it's because we also have that whole schlock that was going on when the tech boom happened. Like, look at the people with the ping pong table at work and the Segways, and everybody imagined that their job was going to be like adult daycare at Google.
Yeah.
Well, that's not the real case for most people. I did see a great meme the other day where it was trying to show you a difference in perspective given what work you've done for a living. I saw somebody in the chat say, try working in retail before saying any of this. Well, I've worked plenty of retail in my life, and what it was somebody took a picture of a cubicle and they said, I can't believe anybody would hate this. Because like, if you come from retail, if you come from customer service, sitting at a cubicle desk ain't all that bad.
Especially if you have this open plan workspace that every company has now, where you have no walls, no privacy ever.
Yeah.
And it's like open concepts. We can like exchange ideas, but it actually just means you're being surveilled all the time.
It's horrible.
But you get to decorate them too, your cubicles. I've had a couple of cubicles in my day, and you
Yeah,
put
you
up your own,
personalize it.
Yeah, make it a little homely.
Remember the video we covered here, but the guy who makes the videos where the boring guy who gets up every day and makes his video going to work.
Hub's life.
And everybody makes it literally is perfect for deconstruction, where some people are like, this looks like heaven. His shower is really nice. His kitchen is really nice. He owns nice things. He goes to work. He's got a structure to his day. And other people are like, can you believe that a man would be okay? That this is all
Well, you
he's
know,
meant for in life?
What's funny about Hub's life actually is that he's no longer working a regular job. Now he's just an influencer for a living because it was all a ploy. It was all a ploy.
Wait, does that mean he like rents out like a
Smart.
fake office to make the videos?
Yeah.
Yes?
Yeah.
Oh my
No
god.
way.
That's
He's
amazing.
faking the entire thing. So forget normalizing the norm.
Yeah.
Now he's just an influencer, and it proves his point wrong, right? He was trying to tell people, like, it's okay to just work your day job and have a very normal life that's not exciting or out of, like, an anomaly in some way. And now he was making all this content in order to ditch his day job, which he eventually did. And now he's living the high life, unlike all the people following him who were believing this messaging he was giving them. It's so stupid.
That's really funny. I did not know that.
It just proves he's a hypocrite, and it disproves the entire point he was trying to make with his content.
You think it makes him a hypocrite because he moved on and went
because he never wanted to stay at his day job. He wanted to
Are you sure
be
the money just wasn't so
an
good that he's
influencer.
like, the money wasn't so good, he's like, I got to keep doing it.
He was in a very high level position, so
Was he?
He must be making even more now that he's just doing content.
That's funny too, because like if you
smart
look
guy.
at that rationally, if he's got a high level office job, he's clearly not dumb. Like at the very least,
Yeah.
he's socially smart enough to know how to succeed
Right.
in a corporate environment
He's tricking people.
Dun, dun, dun.
into doing it. Well, it's like, I mean, for any like going
He's
back
like,
to the
yes,
early days.
underlings, stay in your day job while I get to be a rich influencer and pretend to have a job.
Thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.